everyone, welcome to another video for SimonsStamp.com. Today I'm starting out with the Wish You Were Here stamp set from Lawn Fawn. This is one of their newer stamp sets. I'm going to be stamping this globe stamp and then also the sentiment, "You mean the world to me." I'm starting out with some Nina 80-pound cardstock. I'm going to be using my Copic markers to color it, so I wanted a good cardstock for that. I'm also going to stamp it on some stamping mask paper. I just keep scraps of this whenever I use it. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because that is a good ink for Copic coloring. It doesn't smear or smudge. So first I'm going to stamp on my Nina Solar White. I'm just going to kind of put that in the center. Really press down, make sure I get all those solid areas really well. Perfect. And now I'm going to stamp the same image over on my masking paper, and I really just need the circle part because the rest of the stamp is basically black, so it's not going to show up whenever I add things on top. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the globe world area, and I'll just set that aside for use later. Okay, now I'm going to color this with really simple colors. I'm just going to do a little bit of Copic coloring. I'm going to take the tail end piece from when I cut this off, and I'll just be testing out some colors on this side. I like to do that for Copic markers or even just distress markers to make sure I get the colors that I want. Using two different blue colors, I'm using BG01 and BG45. I'm just starting with the lighter blue, and I'm going to give all the water a wash of color. Then I'm taking the darker color, BG45, and I'm going to be adding some shading over on like this half right over here. Because that's where I want the majority of the shading to be. And you'll be able to see it more once I get the green on there as well. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit of this really dark. This is BG49. I'm just going to add that right along the bottom area that would be the darkest. Take that second darkest color and blend that out a little bit. There we go. So now it's much darker. All right, I'm using 3 green colors as well. I'm starting out with the lightest, which is YG03. And like I did with the blue, I'm going to give a good wash of color. I'm just adding all that green. When you do a wash of color with Copics, it's mostly to get the paper wet so that when you add darker colors on top, they'll blend easier. So I'll take the other green. Mostly just right there. Blend that with the lighter color. Then I'm going to take the darkest most color, and I'm just going to add that to the areas that would be darkest, and I'll use the medium color to blend that out. Okay, so now we have some shading. All right, I'm going to take the mask that I created earlier, and I am, let's see, which way does this go? Like this. I'm just going to put that right over the top. Then I'm bringing in my craft sheet because I'm going to do some stenciling. I'm using some Post-it tape just to hold my cardstock in place. Using the medium dot stencil from Simons Stamp, and I'm going to be taping the stencil down as well because I don't want it moving around. Taking Simons Stamp Sea Glass and also an ink blending tool, and I'm starting from the center, and I'm just going to start adding some color. Okay, that's about all the color I want to add. So I'll lift up my stencil, and I have those dots right there. And then I'm going to use my scissors just to catch the edge of that mask and pull it up. So now I have those dots kind of behind the globe area. And just because I want to make sure I can use this mask later, I'm going to go ahead and close that stamp set and just stick it to the back of the stamp set. So the next time I use the stamp set, I know I have a mask that matches that globe. Forgot to add a shadow to the globe, so I'm just going to use a little bit of W0. Just add that underneath. I'm also adding a little bit of W3. I'll use that W0 to blend it out just a little bit. Just wanted to give that a little bit of a shadow underneath. I have some sea glass cardstock that's cut to the same width as my white cardstock, which is 3 inches wide. I'm going to be using a little bit of VersaFine Black Onyx ink to stamp the sentiment. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting now. I'm using the A2 card curved edge die from Simon Says Stamp. I just want to give both of these a slight curve at the bottom. So I'm lining it up on my grid mat. And that'll just give me a good reference point. I want it just like that. And I'll use that Post-it tape that I used on the stencil earlier. And that just cuts off the very tail end and gives it a slight curve. I'll do the same with this piece right here. I'm now taking some green apple cardstock, and this is cut to the size of a card base. I'm just going to cut that in half using that same curved edge die. I'm going to stamp the arrow stamps from the stamp set on the green apple cardstock. I'm just going to place them on the block in a pattern. I'm using green apple ink so that it's tone on tone. And I mostly just want to get the outer edge because that center piece that I've already colored, that will actually be covering the center area. All right, I'm adding a little bit of that ink just on top of my acrylic block. And I'm picking that up with a Dove blender pen, and I'm just going to be coloring in the arrows that have an interior space. Okay, and now it's time to assemble the card. All right, I have some Nina 100-pound Desert Storm cardstock. This is a heavier version of the usual 80-pound that I like to use. Just scoring that at 5.5. I'll fold that down. I'm adhering this piece directly to the bottom of the card. I'm using foam adhesive to adhere the globe piece that I colored to the light blue stamped piece. Just like that. And now it's uneven, so I've got to add some more foam squares on the top. I'll be doing one layer of foam squares on the bottom. And then on the top, to make it even, I'm going to have to double up on those foam squares. And I almost forgot I wanted to round those top corners, so I'm just putting that through my corner chomper. And then I am adhering that to the center of the card. All right, and last but not least, I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer and gloss onto the world area. Taking my clear Wink of Stella brush pen, and I'm just adding that shimmer all over the globe. So there's just a little bit of shimmer on that now. And then I'm going to take my glossy accents and cover the entire globe. Alright, so it looks a little glossy right now. It's a little foggy. Glossy accents does have to dry completely to be clear. Alright, so there is the card for today. That glossy accents is going to dry back completely clear, and you'll see that in the final image in just a minute here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this card, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.